What if Earth stopped spinning for 1 minute? Every moment of our lives, Earth spins silently beneath our feet. At the equator, that spin is more than 1,670 kilometers per hour, faster than a rifle bullet. We never feel it because the atmosphere, the oceans, and the ground beneath us all rotate together. But what if, for just 1 minute, Earth suddenly stopped spinning? The thought is terrifying, yet fascinating. To answer it, we need to step through the physics, the atmosphere, the oceans, life itself, and even the fate of our planet in the distant future. First, imagine the sudden stop at the surface. You are standing on the equator. In one instant, the solid Earth freezes in place. But you, the air, the oceans, and everything not deeply anchored to bedrock continue racing eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour. That is over 1,000 miles per hour. Skyscrapers would shatter, forests would be torn apart, entire cities would collapse as their foundations ripped away beneath them. Cars, trains, airplanes, and people would be hurled like projectiles. The devastation would begin in a fraction of a second. The atmosphere itself would become a weapon. Right now, the air above you moves gently with Earth. But when the ground stops, the atmosphere does not. It would roar forward at hurricane force multiplied by 100. Winds thousands of kilometers per hour would scour the surface. Concrete buildings would peel apart like paper. Even mountains would erode under such an onslaught. For anyone not underground, survival would be impossible. Now imagine the oceans. Water carries mass and momentum too. At the equator, oceans would pile onto continents, creating mega tsunamis hundreds of meters tall. Coastal cities would vanish under walls of water rushing at the speed of a jetliner. Even regions far inland would face disaster as rivers reversed, lakes sloshed violently, and seas surged uncontrollably. The Atlantic and Pacific would not stay neatly in their basins. Their waters would sweep across land like liquid continents in motion. Earthquakes would ripple across the crust. The sudden shift of mass would stress tectonic plates beyond measure. Volcanoes might erupt worldwide, spewing ash and lava as the planet struggled to find balance. Mountain ranges could fracture. The ground itself would heave and shudder in waves felt on every continent. The 60 seconds of silence after the stop would be followed by centuries of geological chaos. But the story doesn't end with the ground. Let's talk about time, the day-night cycle. If Earth kept orbiting the sun but stopped rotating, one side would face sunlight continuously for half a year, while the other half froze in eternal night. The daylight side would bake under non-stop solar radiation. Deserts would spread, oceans would boil, crops would wither. The night side would freeze into ice sheets kilometers thick. Only the narrow twilight belt, where the sun hovers near the horizon, might be livable. Humanity, if it survived the initial catastrophe, would struggle to live in that fragile strip of twilight. Consider also the magnetic field. Earth's rotation helps power the geodynamo, the churning of molten iron in the core that generates our magnetic shield. Without rotation, the field could weaken. Without it, solar wind would strip away the atmosphere, like it did on Mars. Radiation from the sun would bombard the surface, frying electronics, eroding the ozone layer, and making Earth unrecognizable within centuries. And yet, as horrifying as this is, let's pause to think about scale. To stop Earth's 6 trillion kilograms of mass in just 1 minute would require energy beyond imagination. It is not just unlikely, it is impossible. No asteroid, no alien technology we can conceive of, could stop Earth this way. The very impossibility makes the thought experiment safe to imagine. Still, it helps us appreciate what rotation gives us. Our spin drives winds, ocean currents, weather systems, and the very rhythm of life. Without it, climate would collapse. Rainforests would dry into deserts. Ice would swallow temperate lands. The balance of ecosystems, honed over billions of years, would vanish. Think about animals. Migrating birds navigate by the stars and the magnetic field, both would fail. Sea turtles depend on ocean currents driven by rotation, those would collapse. Even tiny insects, whose flight depends on stable air patterns, would be thrown into chaos. Every living thing on Earth is, in some way, tied to the steady rhythm of day and night. Culturally, the end of Earth's spin would shake humanity to its core. Since ancient times, people have built calendars, religions, and stories around the rising and setting of the sun. A world with 6 months of day and 6 months of night would be alien not only to our biology but also to our history. Poets might once have described sunsets as the death of the day, but in this frozen world, there would be only one sunset every half year, a sky bleeding red for weeks before plunging into endless night. But let's not forget the long-term future. Earth really is slowing down, little by little. Tides raised by the moon act like brakes, stealing energy from Earth's spin and transferring it outward. Each century, the day lengthens by about 0.02 of a second. It is almost nothing to us, but over billions of years, it adds up. Someday, if Earth still exists, it may be tidally locked to the sun, just as the moon is to us. One side would be a burning desert, the other, a frozen wasteland. The thin twilight strip in between might hold the last remnants of life. So no, Earth will not stop in a minute. But imagining it reminds us how extraordinary our spinning planet really is. We take for granted the sunrise, the cool winds, the stability of climate. Yet all of these depend on a rotation we never feel. The spin is invisible, but without it, nothing we know could exist. So next time you see the sky blaze red at sunset or feel the wind on your face, remember, these are gifts of Earth's steady spin. Our world is fragile, balanced on invisible motion, and every second it turns is a miracle of physics. The planet will not stop tomorrow, or ever in our lifetimes, but the thought experiment teaches us gratitude. Gratitude for the simple, silent spin that makes life possible. Subscribe to Why and How, and keep exploring the science of the impossible.